It's 11:32 p.m. The house is silent, wrapped in that heavy, velvet stillness that only comes long after the sun is set. You were supposed to be asleep or at least drifting there, but instead, you're here, standing in front of the refrigerator. The door swings open, bathing you in a harsh, clinical blue light. You aren't looking for leftovers. You aren't even particularly hungry. In fact, you had a full dinner just a few hours ago. Yet there is a pull, a magnetic, undeniable gravity centered in the back of your throat. You reach past the fruit, past the yogurt, and find that bag of pretzels or those sea salt chips. When the first crystal touches your tongue, it's like a light switch flipping on in a dark room. That sharp, stinging relief, the satisfying structural snap of the crunch. You tell yourself you'll only have 3. And 10 minutes later, the bag is half empty, and you're left with a dusty residue on your fingers and a familiar, nagging sense of guilt. Why did you do that? Most people and most diet experts' will tell you it's a lack of willpower. They'll say you're stressed or bored. They'll tell you that you have a salty tooth, as if it's some kind of minor character flaw. But they're wrong. They are looking at the surface, while the real story is happening in the deep, dark basement of your biology. What you just experienced wasn't a snack craving. It was a biological hijack. You were being remote-controlled by a ghost, a version of you that lived 10,000 years ago, in a world where finding a single gram of salt was the difference between life and death. Your brain isn't asking for a treat. It's responding to an ancient alarm clock that tells it the battery is running low before the long night ahead. If you've felt this pull before, you're not alone. Stick with me, because what I'm about to show you will change how you look at your next meal and your own mind forever. We are about to decode the ancient mineral currency that still runs your life. To understand the 11 p.m. ghost, we have to travel back, way back. Before the invention of the grocery store, before the salt shaker, and before we had even mastered the art of farming. In the Pleistocene era, the world was a very different place for the human palate. Most of the foods our ancestors ate, roots, wild game, berries, were rich in potassium, but incredibly low in sodium. Now, why does that matter? Because salt isn't just a flavor. It's the white gold of the human machine. Every single time you blink, every time your heart thumps against your ribs, and every time a thought flashes across your synapses like a bolt of lightning, your body is using sodium. It is the essential electrolyte that allows your nerves to send electrical signals. Without it, the wires in your body go dead. Because salt was so vital for survival and so incredibly rare in the wild, evolution didn't leave your intake to chance. It did something brilliant and slightly terrifying. It hardwired a reward circuit into the very center of your brain. When an ancestor stumbled upon a salt lick or a brackish spring, their brain would flood with a massive dose of dopamine. It was a biological high designed to make sure they never ever passed up a mineral source. To your ancestors, salt wasn't a seasoning. And it was an insurance policy against heart failure and neurological collapse. But here is the specific mystery. Why does the craving peak at night? 10,000 years ago, the night was the most dangerous time for your metabolism. You were about to enter a state of total vulnerability, sleep, where you wouldn't be consuming any nutrients for 8 to 10 hours. Your body knew that during this fast, it still had to keep the heart beating and the brain's maintenance crew working. If your mineral levels were slightly low at sunset, your brain would sound an emergency alarm. It wanted you to load up on minerals before the long, dry night. You are the descendant of the humans who answered that alarm. The ones who didn't crave salt at sunset? Their hearts were less likely to handle the stress of the hunt the next day. They didn't survive. You carry the salt-loading gene of the survivors. Think of your brain not as a cloud of abstract thoughts, but as a very old, very sophisticated battery. This battery runs on something gastrophysicists call the Sodium-Potassium Pump. It's a tiny, elegant gate on the surface of your cells that moves minerals back and forth to maintain an electrical charge. Without this pump, the battery dies. The lights go out. When the sun goes down, your body's internal clock, the circadian rhythm, begins a massive shift in your internal chemistry. Your blood pressure naturally begins to drop, and your kidneys change the way they filter fluids. For many of us, especially in the modern world, this evening shift creates a false floor in our mineral levels. Your brain, acting like an ancient and overly cautious janitor, looks at the fuel gauge and panics. It sees the evening drop in blood volume and thinks, "The battery is leaking. We need more spark before the long sleep." This is why the craving feels so magnetic. It's not a hunger in your stomach, it's an electrical thirst in your nervous system. Your brain is trying to top off its electrolytes to keep your heart's electrical rhythm stable while you dream. It's a protective mechanism that has worked for millions of years. If this deep dive into your own biology is making sense to you, hit that like button. It helps our community of neural palates grow and ensures more people understand the code behind their cravings. Because once you understand the why, the how becomes much easier to manage. You stop fighting your instincts and start working with them. But here is where the story takes a dark, industrial turn. We are living in a world our ancestors wouldn't recognize. A world where the white gold is no longer rare. It is everywhere. And the food industry knows exactly how to exploit your 10,000-year-old alarm system. They've spent billions of dollars in labs to find what they call the Bliss Point. This isn't just about making food taste good, it's about finding the exact ratio of salt, sugar, and fat that bypasses your brain's "I'm full" sensors and goes straight to the dopamine center. They use a trick called Vanishing Caloric Density, making snacks like cheese puffs or thin chips that literally melt on the tongue. Because the food disappears so fast, your brain thinks the calories aren't there, but the salt signal is still firing. When you eat a bag of ultra-processed chips at 11 p.m., you aren't satisfying the ancient battery signal. You're confusing it. These snacks are loaded with highly refined, naked sodium chloride. Unlike the mineral-rich salts found in nature, this industrial salt enters your bloodstream in a violent, jagged spike. This spike often triggers a secondary reaction. It makes you thirsty. But instead of drinking water, the salt makes you want more salt to balance the dehydration it just caused. It's a salt loop. Your brain asks for a mineral recharge to sleep, but the industry gives it fool's gold. You eat, but the salt alarm stays on because your cells are still crying out for the other minerals that usually come with salt in nature: magnesium, potassium, and calcium. You're stuck in a loop, eating more and more, and yet feeling less and less satisfied. Your biology isn't broken. It's being sabotaged by a world that's too salty for its own good. So how do we take back the controls? How do we silence the 11 p.m. ghost without falling into the industrial trap? The secret isn't to fight your biology with willpower. Willpower is a modern invention, and it's no match for a 10,000-year-old survival instinct. The answer is to speak your body's language. The next time that magnetic pull for salt hits you late at night, stop for a second. Realize what your brain is actually asking for: mineral stability. Often, what we perceive as a desperate need for a bag of chips is actually a cry for high-quality hydration. Your brain sees a drop in blood volume and wants to bulk it up with salt. Try the Neural Palate hack. Before you open the pantry, and take a small glass of room-temperature water. Add a tiny pinch of high-quality, unrefined sea salt, the kind that still has its natural minerals, and a squeeze of lemon. You're giving the janitor in your brain exactly what it needs to maintain the battery, but without the industrial noise of the chips. You'll be amazed at how quickly the ghost vanishes when its mineral demand is met with actual minerals. When you shift your mindset from "I have a snacking problem" to "I am managing a sophisticated ancient electrical system," the guilt evaporates. You aren't weak. You aren't bad. You are simply a very advanced biological machine navigating a very strange, very new modern environment. Your palate is a bridge to your ancestors. You just have to learn how to cross it. If you want to keep decoding the mysteries of your own mind and the hidden science of why you love what you love, subscribe to Neural Palate. There are many more biological secrets waiting to be translated. Until next time, listen to your palate. It's been looking out for you for a long, long time.